Hi, good morning, everyone, and welcome. We'll be starting in just a few minutes, but I'm so glad you're here today, and I'm looking forward to our conversation. Oh, my first question. I'm actually speaking to everyone who's on here. We have anonymous people. If you see Zoom Fairy on your screen, it's the person who is running the Zoom so that I can concentrate on everyone's questions. If you have questions, even though we haven't started yet, please feel free to put them in the chat or use your raise hand, which is available on my screen. It's on the bottom, a little bit more center to the right, and you'll see a raise hand, and I will get to you as soon as I can. I do see some more people are joining, so I will, again, welcome everyone in a few moments. And then we will get started. But I do want to make sure people have a chance to access us here. You may notice on the screen that you see A1, A2, A3, and as people come in, their names are changed. You're blacked out on purpose. You won't be able to start your video because we'd like to keep this anonymous. We'll get people renamed here. So again, if you have any questions you'd like to put in the chat, that would be fine, or we can ask them live. Fine too. So I'm really excited to get started. In just about 30 more seconds, we'll open up. Okay, again, for those of you who have just joined, you'll see myself on the screen. I'm Beth Siegert, and you'll also see someone named Zoom Fairy. This is the person that's running the Zoom meeting for me today so that I can concentrate on what we're going to be talking about, and I won't be distracted. Well, as distracted as I be normally. So. Okay. I will get started, but we won't get into the crux of this for a few minutes because I do know sometimes we get caught up and might come on a minute or two late. But I would like to introduce myself. I'm Beth Siegert of Siegert and Associates. I'm an executive coach, an executive recovery coach, life coach. I'm a coach is basically what I do. And I have a specificity in recovery coaching. And people have many questions about what recovery is. What is that like? What do you do? How do you do it? What does that mean? What is sobriety? What is moderation management? So this is the forum that we decided to present. And the reason it's anonymous is many people don't want to have their picture or have their name on a screen with a lot of other people when they'd like to ask some questions that may be very personal. So we're trying this platform to see if that would be helpful to people. Okay. So let's get started. I first need to let you all know that I'm really hoping that this is going to stimulate and motivate your interest in the recovery process. Presentation does not reflect all of the research available. That would be impossible to put in a 20-minute discussion. And I'm focusing on the highlights and your questions. This is not intended to replace proper medical care as needed, okay, and when needed. Hopefully the guidance provided in this conversation will be helpful to you. And if you have any further questions after we end, please feel free to go to our website at siegertandassociates.com, click on the newsletter button, sign up, go from there and send me some more questions if we end before you're able to ask your question, or if you have questions that come later. Okay. Oh, thank you so much. People are saying Many wonderful. Thank you. What made me decide to do this anonymously? After all these years, that's still a tough word for me to pronounce. Again, it's to invoke people into being able to speak freely, raise their hand, put in more things in the chat, and not feel maybe judged or any of the other things that can go along with asking us a question. And if I have the answer, I'm happy to, if I believe I have the answer, I have the answer. I'm very happy to share that. If not, I will get the answer for you. Okay. Thank you. Someone said they've been waiting for this all week. Me too. And same here. Great. All right. So people are very, very excited about being able to do this anonymously. And I have to say, every time I have an opportunity to share my experience and strength and sometimes hope for people, I love being able to do that and hopefully have an exchange with others who feel the same way and to help people along their journey. So I'm grateful that you're here to share in this discussion about addiction. And I'm going to start by opening up the floor to questions. And if you could please use the raise hand, mine is located on the bottom, a little bit off to the right-hand side. You'll see a little hand that says raise hand, and I'll get to your question if you'd like to ask verbally and not in chat. But someone says, I have a friend who cut herself, self-harm, and I'm very concerned about her, but I do not know how to direct her to get help. Well, that's a wonderful question. And the answer to that is, there's an enormous answer to that, basically. And you know your friend better than I. I would suggest, though, that you start with a loving and kind conversation about your concern and what you've seen and what you've experienced with this person recently and how you would love to provide help for them. Help for them can come in many ways, shapes, and form, and it really depends upon what she's willing to do, who she's willing to talk to, and if she thinks that it might be an issue or not. Typically, speaking with someone who is a professional, she may need to speak with someone who is a medical person, a clinician, when it comes to someone who is self-harming to the point of cutting themselves. Honestly, coaching would probably not be the place to start with someone who's cutting themselves. A medical professional having an evaluation. Now, we do give evaluations, but this person may or may not be in a serious medical situation who would require perhaps a psychologist, a psychiatrist, and someone with LCSW or counseling credentials who would be able to step in and evaluate this person. We do evaluations at a higher level and make suggestions. Coaches by nature do not delve deeply into this with someone who is to the point of cutting. We can, however, work in tandem with someone who would like to have help in this area. I myself have had people come to me directly, and I will definitely speak with them and encourage them to get the help that I believe is proper for them and have a coach who will be supportive, helpfully move them through to the point where they will join a group and getting in helping them with their issue. And when someone is cutting, it typically can be a long process. Okay, I hope that answers your question. If not, feel free to put more in the chat. Next question. You're very welcome, A4. And what does it mean to be sober? Well, my definition of sober is someone who doesn't drink. And I've added into that for myself on a personal level, that includes any mind-altering substance. And for me, that would be any kind of illegal or illegal drug that alters my mind. And it also includes alcohol, it includes weed, right? Those are the things that I consider to be sober if you are abstinent from using them. I think it is extraordinarily easy to obtain sobriety and extraordinarily challenging to maintain sobriety. Okay, so to obtain it, you put the substance down. Some people can do that for an hour, 5 hours, and they'll consider themselves sober. 3 days, 5 days. But if someone can get to the point of being able to maintain sobriety over a period of time, then I would be more comfortable using the term that they are sober. Okay, someone who actually can maintain the sobriety. So it is an individual definition. Some people consider themselves sober if they don't drink, but they still do drugs. So it's a personal definition in many ways. And I do also do moderation management, which means I help people moderate their drinking so that they don't get in trouble at work or with their families, yet they're not willing to be abstinent. That also is an option for many people. Okay, here we go. Some people stop using drugs but continue to drink in moderation for years. How is it possible without returning to illegal drug use? Well, that's a really good question. I know I'll never forget hearing someone say, you don't know how difficult it is to not drink when you're using cocaine every day. That was an interesting conversation, believe me. How is it possible? Sometimes it's just self-will. Sometimes there's a shift in mentality that as long as I don't do X, I can do Y. I, however, refer to that as playing whack-a-mole, where you're switching one addiction or one substance that will alter your brain and alter your thinking, therefore your actions and your behavior, for another substance. And I, for myself, include substances, not only alcohol and drugs, but that includes nicotine, that includes food addictions, gambling, relationships. So it's quite common to put down one substance and not put down another. Okay. If anyone would like to speak, they can unmute or raise their hand. Okay. So what made you start doing this work? All right. That's a really interesting question. Someone asked me that last week when I was speaking with them. And this coming to do this work is the culmination of 33 continuous years of sobriety and abstinence in alcohol and drugs, and then dealing with nicotine, dealing with food, gambling addictions. I have personal experience in whack-a-mole. And well, thank you. Thank you. My sobriety date is April 3rd, 1988. And I came crashing into the room I needed to be removed from my environment, which meant leaving my 2 young children. I was a single mother. I'd been divorced by that time, leaving them and disappearing out of my office at work and basically off the face of the planet for 28 days. That's what was necessary for me in order to start, my journey in sobriety. And I've utilized many different modalities of maintaining my sobriety, including using groups. I have had quite a bit of outside help. When I say outside help, I'm referring to psychologists, social work help. I have had surgeries where I've needed to use different kinds of painkillers. You don't do something like replace a knee or a hip without having some substance, but I found people who would help me manage that. There are pain management specialists who are sober and understand bringing someone through that process. It just takes a little more work and asking for help. And that can be the biggest block to people who would like to maintain their abstinence and their sobriety, but they don't know how to ask for help. And they may ask for help and they feel the help doesn't come. They don't continue to ask for help, which is why I believe it's very important that the first person or people that they speak with understand that there needs to be a conversation about how this is affecting their life today and how their life has changed and what it could possibly look like, right? So from personal experience, you can live a very healthy and happy life without using mind-altering substances. And I guess the proof is in the pudding. Here I sit, and I'm happy to talk about it. I don't get into my story very often in detail. It's not, everything wasn't all unicorns and rainbows. I needed to live life basically on life's terms. And that's what I did. And that's what I'm doing. And at this point, let me go back. I had a career in finance. Imagine an active person managing your money. It was, thank goodness, in all honesty, I was let go from that position shortly after obtaining my sobriety and maintaining it. I wasn't really meant to be in that position, which allowed me to go into other areas and different careers. And these have all built who I am, basically, and who I love being. And so fast forward 33 years on April 3rd, the person that I am today, I'm happily married. I have my lovely children and grandchildren, and we have a good life, not a perfect life. Okay? Having a perfect anything to me makes me nervous. Makes me nervous if someone says everything's perfect or everything's fine. Yeah, fine. We know the definition of fine, right? Frustrated, insecure, neurotic, and emotional when someone says they're fine. If someone says that to me, I will ask other questions. So that's part of being a coach. Someone else had asked me, why did I become a coach and not a therapist? Well, I love taking someone, helping someone and guide them into becoming who they are without necessarily delving in the past. Many people need that help. I did. I understand that help. It was extremely and is extremely important to me to be able to go back and do those things. But the coaches that I've had helped me do that and simultaneously move forward, right? So putting that tag team together can be very, very helpful. And sometimes I had a coach, and sometimes I had a therapist, and sometimes I just had me and the other people that I spoke with, in order to learn how to live life from people who have done it before me. So without drugs, alcohol, food, etc. How can someone find and connect with a person like you and other recovery coaches? That's a great question. You'll find on my website at siegertandassociates.com, we have a list of resources. And on that resource list, you will find a list of coaches that are available. And they are more than willing. You can go through, you can look at their CVs, what their experience is, what they may specialize in, and you'll be able to pick someone who specializes in recovery from going into there and clicking on that link. And there's so many wonderful people out there that live all over the world. I like to make sure people understand that this is just not something that happens here in the US. You'll see that the thank you Zoom Fairy posted the link right there in the chat box. If you'd like to take a photo of that, write it down, cut and paste it, copy it, open the link. And please speak with quite a few of them. If you run into one that you don't quite feel comfortable with, please, there are many, many, many of us who are qualified. I do want to ask you to make sure that you have someone who's qualified. By that meaning that they are certified professional recovery coaches, and that means that they have taken the appropriate courses and have proven to be able to coach people in recovery. Not someone who just decided that they're in recovery and they're going to put a sign out and start talking to people. You may be familiar with people who are in a 12-step program and they refer to themselves as sponsors, and they believe that a sponsor can be a coach. And that's another discussion that I have, but those are two totally different roles that people can be in. And we can bring that up on another discussion if you'd like to. We can get into more depth in that. If you'd like to hear more about that, put it in the chat and let me know. Okay. How does someone know if they are in fact an alcoholic? Okay. Well, diagnosing yourself as an alcoholic, and I'll say it's a self-diagnosis, and there's a reason for that. There are many signs, okay? People who lose control, they start drinking, and I'll use drinking as the substance of choice, but it could be heroin, it could be cocaine, it could be anything, marijuana. Once they start, they can't stop, or they have a horrific time stopping. They use the substance compulsively. And when they lose that control, things happen. Denial grows. I'm okay. I've got this. I have it under control. I have had recently an influx of seniors in universities recently who have really increased their alcohol and marijuana intake to the point where they're not productive. They're not doing their classes. This has taken over their lives. Now, are they addicts? Are they alcoholics? They're going to need to decide that for themselves. But let's see what happens when you don't use. And when you don't use for a period of time, what happens? Right? People typically need to diagnose themselves as alcoholics. Now, there are people who do reach such severe bottoms that they've lost the ability to self-diagnose. And that's when a medical person can go in and say, these are all the signs of someone who has alcoholism, and you definitely reach those. You are losing you lost your job, you lost your family, you continue to put your substance first instead of things that they lose sight of what's important and what priorities should need to be in their life in order to have a happy life. So we can go through other signs. We're down to about 2 minutes, and there's a couple other topics, but I do have those signs listed again on the website. What I would like to do is at this point, ask for topics going forward, because we're going to repeat this in April. And I would love to know, we were going to talk about relapse and self-compassion, but if there are more things you'd like to see in that discussion or something from here you'd like to move forward to that discussion, please let me know in the chat box, because I'll make sure that we put that in. Again, this is the first time we're doing this, so we're kind of plowing through here to see if we can be helpful. Someone says, I'm a bit puzzled with the moderation management approach. Is that not kind of risky? Yes, it is kind of risky. But sometimes it takes a person to walk through moderation or management before they understand that they can't moderate or manage their intake. They have lost control. And is it risky? Well, when I do moderation management, I do fully inform the person of the risk. Typically, they don't come to me because their life is great. Typically, they're sent to me by their corporation or their families. The person has done something inappropriate, perhaps borderline illegal, could be in trouble with work, could be a sexual harassment charge, could be all kinds of different things going on, hostile workplace environment they created. And I am very clear about the risk of that. If you choose to go into moderation and you don't moderate to the plan that we have, you could possibly reoffend. And you will be accountable and responsible for that behavior, because your behavior is extraordinarily risky and it is hurting other people. Typically, the person will choose to become abstinent and work on abstinence. Some people, surprisingly, are able to moderate. They're the kind of personality, because everyone has a different psyche. They have a different internal makeup, which is why it's difficult to ask these questions in absolutes. And nothing is absolute, right? So they have a different psyche, they have a different makeup. And if they are given and accept that they can have one drink twice a week, if that's what they choose to use for moderation, they will stick to that and their behaviors will revert, right? So it's interesting. And has it been proved effective? Well, there's quite a few studies. I have not delved into them in depth and read all of the statistics, gotten into the size of the group of people they were able to get together to do this study, and and what did they compare it to? What is their definition of sobriety? What is the definition of moderation? There'll be some more research I'll need to do and go into that. But yes, there is proof it can be effective, but the numbers are not nearly, to my knowledge today, anywhere near the numbers of people who are sober and how their lives have come around, their careers have come around to be a healthier career and life for them and those connected with them. I hope that answered the question. If not, please feel free to put more in the chat. Someone said, well, thank you. I get it now. This is awesome idea to do this anonymously. So I really appreciate you all being here. And again, please, contact us, get on our newsletter list if you can, spread the word to people who might want to join us next time, provide information to them or to us for us to contact them. And yes, more people should be here. So let's spread the word and let's get more people here next time. And the date for next time, I'm going to just verify that. My Zoom fairy would have it, but I believe we have it. Yes. It is, and correct me, Zoom Fairy, it will be April 14th, right? The day before tax day. Now, that's not a stressful day, right? So that pick that one on purpose. So April 14th, a Wednesday at 11 a.m. Eastern Daylight Savings Time. And I will be here. But please, if you have questions, send them in ahead of time also. Okay. I really appreciate you all being here. Yes, the invitations will go out shortly. You will all receive them. Please pass them around. Okay, please. Thank you so much for being here, everyone. Have a safe and healthy day. And I really appreciate your time today. Take care. Bye-bye.